Happy New Year, everyone. The numbers are in for Calypso in Panama City Beach for 2021. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group over at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Today, I want to do a bit of a year in review for you to see not only what happened in 2021 with pricing, but also kind of look ahead and see what we're expecting in 2022. I want to go over some year-over-year comparisons for you, get into the weeds a little bit on this one. I'm going to go to my favorite chart to show you what's been happening with months of inventory. We'll explain that again for you. I'm going to go through some of the statistics that we're tracking specifically that I think are very, very interesting that will really show us what to expect, at least here at the beginning of the year. And then I want to show you some current pricing numbers. I think that's probably the most important thing. So let's get right into some of the numbers. The first chart, I'm going to not include Tower 3 because I don't want to include any year-over-year numbers since we just started having closings last year. So focusing for a minute just on the Gulfront Towers, total active, meaning the number of units on the market at any given time throughout the year, we had 35% fewer condos available for sale at any given point in 2021 than we did the year before. And that just goes to, if you think about it simply in terms of supply and demand, we just had a lot less supply. You wouldn't be surprised year over year to see 3%, 5%, 8%, one way or the other. Things kind of cooking along just like they did the year before. When you see numbers like that, 35% fewer available condos for a buyer to buy, that puts a lot of pressure on buyers, and it's part of the reason why the market's done what it's been doing. The number of new listings that came to the market last year was down 7%. The year before we had 51. Last year we only did 47. The numbers of contracts written were actually down a little bit. Part of that's driven by there were just fewer units to put under contract. We did 50 transactions in 2020, 43 transactions in the Gulfront Towers in 2021. The number of units sold was about the same. It was down 6%. Interestingly, there were 3 units down, but look, we actually sold there was more sold volume, obviously, because prices have continued to move up. It was a pretty dramatic year there. And the average sales price, and think about this for a second, average is not the median. This is just the average sales price for a condo in Calypso, where people are spending their money. That number went up 14% this year. That only tells part of the story, but even if the average is moving up 14%, we know it was a pretty healthy year for the market. This chart, I think, for those of you who haven't seen this one before, this is very important to understand, especially it's a nice way to predict where pricing may head over the short term. Remember the red line here, and this will include now all 3 towers. The red line here represents the number of units for sale at any given time. The black line represents the number of closings. And the biggest takeaway, again, is this months of inventory number. See if I can blow it up for you. The months of inventory number is a good big takeaway. So a couple things on this chart. Look at the red line. And going back to, let me get my mug out of the way. So going back to January of 2020, all the way through most of 2020, there were a ton of units for sale. A lot of this, though, was Tower 3 activity. But look at what happened at the beginning of 2021 as units didn't quite start closing in Tower 3 yet, but look at what happened to the availability. So anyone who was thinking about buying a condo in Calypso felt pretty good about life, that they had all these choices, and all of a sudden, look at what happened. April, May, June of last year, the bottom dropped out, and all of a sudden there's just fewer choices for buyers, and put them into that kind of give them a lot of motivation to try to get something done pretty quickly. And inventory levels have stayed pretty low since then. If you look at the months of inventory number, and for those of you who don't know this or I haven't seen this type of video before, I talk about this all the time. Traditionally in real estate, 5 or 6 months of inventory would represent a neutral market. The idea meaning that seller calls real estate office. It takes a real estate office 5 to 6 months normally to work through the entire process, meaning marketing, which used to take us 30, 45 days to get marketing going. I'll start over here. I'm looking at the screen. 30, 45 days to run print, newspaper ads, magazine ads, that kind of thing. And to work through the entire process of marketing, showing, negotiating contracts, and closing contracts, That entire process would take 5 or 6 months. I sort of contend that process only takes about 4 or 5 months now, because it doesn't take us 30 or 45 days to get marketing up and going anymore. So let's just use 5 months as our normal, natural number for this discussion. That means then that anything that's happening faster, if we see 4 months of inventory or 2 months of inventory, that means the whole process on average is happening faster. That means units are selling faster. That means the closing process is happening faster. The market's hotter. You're in seller market territory. The longer we're in seller market territory, the more pressure there is on pricing to move up. Units are selling very fast. Buyers feel like they have to do something very quickly. They have to be aggressive. That's the mindset. So that's a very, very important number to understand. So let's look at Calypso over the last little while and see what's happened. Back there at the beginning of most of 2020, when we saw that red line, when the buyer had all those choices of condos, look at the months of inventory number in some of these months. We had over 20s for most of it. We had a 54, 36, 19. You think about that in terms of time. 14 months of inventory is over a year. It would take theoretically over a year to sell all the condos in Calypso. 28 months, 2 years, over 2 years worth of inventory. 54 months, over 4 years of inventory. That's the pace that we saw of sales in early 2020. Look at what's happened since then. May of 2021, 0.47, less than a month of inventory. 0.46, 0.19. 0.31. We were very interested to see here, this was important, in October, November, it jumped from 0.77 to 2.25 and then drifted up to 3.75, almost back to neutral. The pace of things had slowed down a little bit. And as we were coming out of the season, we were all interested to see if this was a trend that was going to continue, because if we started to see 3.75, 4, 4.5, 5, now we're back into neutral market, buyer market territory. That's going to show us that the market's sort of going to flatten out a little bit and be steady. That would be important to know, especially if you're trying to time when you're going to liquidate something. But look at what already has happened in December. Traditionally, we all think of that being off season. It's the holidays. We jump back down to 0.89 months of inventory of what's available out there in the market. That's just a very, very, very healthy seller's market still here in what a lot of people think of as the off season. Now, a couple other statistics I think that are going to really drive this home. In September, I want you to look in September, October. This first column is the number of units for sale again. Here are the number of new contracts being written. Here are the number of sales. So in September, we're not surprised to see this number again, that we're down 30% in inventory. We have less supply, right? But the number of new contracts being written, taking that supply, was also down. Look, we were down 31, down 33%, down 28% in September. October, similar story, down in inventory, nothing terribly exciting in the number of new contracts being written. But look at November and December, key in on a couple things, still down in inventory substantially, but now we wrote 41% new contracts, 9% more new contracts in November, a couple weeks where it was slow. And look at December, down even further in what's available for sale. And the number of new contracts is up 35%, up 32%, 8%, up 62% last week. And we felt this big time. There's a lot of momentum already going into the season. It almost feels like we had a little bit of a break early, middle December, but just especially what's happened in the last 3 days, it's really like the market's picking right up where we left off. So look at some pricing specifically in Calypso to see what's happening right now. I went back, this search, I went back 60 days to pick up what has sold, what is under contract, and what's available for sale. And I want you to see it should all come together now with 0.89 months of inventory, lots of contracts being written. It's still a very, very good market. Take a look at this. So under contract, taking backups, that just means a unit is under contract for sale, is no longer available. So we had an 05 unit, asking price was $435. It's under contract. We had a 1-bedroom, 2-bath. This is on the Gulf side for $445 was the asking price. It was under contract. We just closed this yesterday, 2 days ago. Tower 2, 105, ground floor unit, $450,000 sold, closed at that price. Asking price $465 for a 1-bedroom 2-bath on the Gulf side. Asking $465. It's under contract. Across the street, same floor plan. Asking $469. On the Gulf side, asking $469 for the same layout. Same floor plan on the Gulfs. On the Tower 3 is asking $469,500. It's under contract. New listing just came out. Same price, $469,900 is the asking price now for 1-bedroom 2-bath. Moving up to same floor plan again, $485 is the asking price for an 8th floor unit on the Gulf side. And across the street again, same floor plan, asking $549,500. That's all the activity on the 1-bedrooms. A couple things to key in on. You can see where all the sales are going to close. Even if all of these get full price, you see where that activity is. Here's the recent activity just closed a couple days ago. And look at where all of a sudden everyone's resetting values. If a buyer walks into a real estate office once all of these close, they're now looking at $469 as the asking price. $450 just closed 2 days ago. That's what's happening in the market. It's pretty intense. Going to the 2-bedroom plan, we'll go 2-bedroom, 2-bath with bunk, but combine that since that same version is now a 3-bedroom over in Tower 3. So on the Gulf side, we're asking $647,500 and $649 for that floor plan. One is under contract. They were asking $659,500. It is not closed yet. An end unit, 2-bedroom, is asking $689,500. It's under contract. 2-bedroom, 2-bath with bunk plan, which is now a 3-bedroom, 3-bath on Tower 3, asking $691,400. It's under contract. Back to the Gulf side, asking $699 for the 2-bedroom, 2-bath with bunk. Another unit on the Gulf side, same floor plan with the bunk room converted to a bedroom, $749,500, and it is under contract. On the Gulf side, 3-bedroom end unit now, $769 asking price. It's under contract. Gulf side, Tower 3 again, $845 is an asking price for a 3-bedroom end unit over there. It is under contract, and here's where it gets really interesting. On the Gulf side, we have an end unit 3-bedroom asking $850, and we have a closing now. All of a sudden, we have a closing on a 3-bedroom, 3-bath in Tower 3 at $960,000. We have another unit over there asking $989,000. A couple things to take away from this list. There are not a lot of 2-bedroom, 2-bath with bunk options available for sale. If you have that on the Gulf side, it's a really good time to be on the market with some aggressive pricing, especially people are already thinking about buying and getting units set up for the season. March 1, if March 1 is the beginning of our season, that can come very quickly. So people are trying to get closings happening now, get everything set up with rental management and all those kinds of things. If you have anything in Tower 3, I know most people who purchased aren't selling right away, but if you do have something in Tower 3, because they're so new, they're really, really getting a premium over there. It's a good time to be on the market there. 1-bedroom, 2 baths, you have a little bit more competition, but that number is a really good number compared to what's happened recently. So a couple takeaways from this and what we're expecting. It's only been a few days into the new year, but we don't have yet a rush of listings coming to the market. I was waiting to see what would happen in September, October last year. A lot of times when we get out of season towards the end of revenue season, it's a pretty normal time for people to put things on the market. We didn't have a rush of inventory. We still have a ton of demand. Prices are still holding for now. I don't see... Certainly, we don't see any depreciation yet. We do see flattening in some parts of the market. Calypso, just because we're trying to figure out where Tower 3 values are going to land since it's so new. I think that's a little bit of an enigma at the moment. The one thing we're watching overall, we know in a cycle, and especially if you follow like the 18-year cycle, which a lot of people do in real estate, we know we're right around the top of a cycle. And the thing we're really keying in on and waiting to expect is that months of inventory number on that chart in Calypso and across the beach as a whole. Once that number starts to creep up some more, we'll start to see some flattening in prices, some slowdown, and sometimes in the condo market that can happen pretty quickly. I would be surprised if that happened in the next few months. We always have so much momentum going into the season, the spring season, but we're also kind of keeping an eye on all the things nationally, economically, that could affect these kinds of things. So there's a lot of talk about interest rates going up and what that can do to real estate values. So I think that one of the main takeaways, if you're thinking of selling, we're still in a very, very healthy market, and we don't have any headwinds as of yet that would keep us from getting some of these real premium prices. So I know that's into the weeds and it's a lot of information. I just really wanted to get specific with you. I know most of you already signed up for e-alerts. I hope those are working for you. It's a really great way to stay on top of actual real sales as they happen. If you're not, just let me know. You can text me Calypso to 850-527-0221 and we'll get you set up there. Hope you guys have a happy, healthy 2022, and we'll be in touch next month with a brief overview of how the year kicked off. Thanks for watching.